So, Ashura, do you want to bring back Morrigan to hear the rest of their tale?
Absolutely. Where was the last place they were going again?
To get slammed by a dragon?
I thought there was something about Leviathan. But let's just bring them back so we can make sure ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
God, not again.
Oh, welcome back.
It's you guys. Okay, that's better.
Who were you expecting to be kidnapped by?
One of these days, I assume I'm going to get kidnapped by my patron's father or employer. Either or, honestly. It's only a matter of time. But you guys are better than that. I'd like to not be dream kidnapped by the Lord of the Hells if it's all the same to everyone involved.
I mean, that's my catchphrase. Better than the alternative.
Sadly, it is.
Hell of a catchphrase.
So yeah, welcome back. Last time we spoke to you, you were hunting some cultists.
Ephraim said that you're trying to get slammed by a dragon.
We were trying to avoid being slammed by a dragon.
So I cannot assist with that.
Yeah, no, an ancient black worm coming at you very, very quickly who hasn't been seen by anyone and survived. Just racing towards your ship at top speed in the middle of a storm when your options are that or getting swallowed by the Eldritch Demigod. You choose getting swallowed by the Eldritch Demigod because even then you might survive that. Granted, you don't survive without getting a couple people thrown overboard, namely me. Yeah, I kind of got thrown overboard, but don't worry, I had the druid with me. So like being thrown overboard in an ocean with a druid who can wild shape into plesiosaur, good time.
And this black worm was in the ocean as well?
Yeah.
Why was there a black worm in the ocean?
You know, I don't ask questions I don't want answers to. That's a lie. I constantly ask questions I don't want answers to. But in this case, haven't had time to go looking into that. It's been on the back burner of questions that need answering. So more pressing questions have to get answered first. But we sort of got locked off from the team. But we figured out that, the cleric sent us a message being like, hey, we're over here. Did y'all survive? And it was like weird because like there's a general sense that when you're like sending messages over somebody, you're going to get the message. But sending over different planes, there's a little bit of static interference. Sometimes you don't even get the message fully, completely as it should be. Except we were assuming that we were on the same plane of existence, right? No, apparently this Leviathan is so fucking big that it just made a demi-plane in its upper throat.
Oh.
It's bad. It's bad. But nonetheless, we're like, well, shit, we gotta figure out how to reunite with our party, because that would be better for all involved if we did. And then we got set upon by insects. Really, really big insects that wanted to eat us, I think. So the druid and I Corin and I kind of had to fight them off. In doing so, we managed to survive. Thank the gods for that. We got a little bit of help from a guy who had used some of the bug parts for armor, which was resourceful. I gotta admit to that. And he introduced himself as Wiltrin. And Corin and I sort of looked at each other and went, yeah, that's going to be a fun reunion, but we're not going to tell them because it's not our place to tell. He thankfully took us back to their civilization that they had set up. And we were, getting introduced to everybody. And some of the other scouting parties for the civilization had found the other half of our party. So we were all reunited and it was all great fun and dandy.
Where had the other part of your party been?
They ended up with where the ship had crashed. And after doing an assessment on the ship, they put it all together and managed to find their way toward civilization / I think a scouting party found them. And they were brought to the civilization as well. Oh, and the cleric's retainer turned into a were-capybara? There's no good time to mention that, but apparently our half-orc teenager retainer for our paladin is also a were-capybara.
A were-capybara? That's...
A were-capybara. During the full moon, instead of turning into a wolf or a crocodile, he turns into a capybara.
Are they adorable as it sounds?
About as adorable. He just really radiates chill vibes. Very much an aura of calm. It's nice. It prevented our paladin from completely losing his mind because he already hated the ocean and has seemingly just been given another reason to hate the fucking ocean. So keeping our paladin calm was a good thing.
I mean, how can you not be calm when you have a lad like that?
Truly.
Why does he hate the ocean?
Well, so it's a cultural thing. The drow kind of have hang-ups about the ocean in regards to like the elves and what have you, and some historical stuff. He could probably tell the story better than I ever could.
I like most of the ocean. It's just I don't like the watery bits.
That's like most of the ocean?
Yeah, but the rest is fine.
Okay. But we got to introduce the guy who saved our ass, Wiltrin, to his long-lost daughter, aka Freda, our party's fighter.
Oh.
Apparently, when he had gone on that last adventuring quest he swore all those years ago, he had ended up being swallowed by the Leviathan.
Ah, okay.
He simply just hadn't had the means to escape.
You've just been living inside a Leviathan for all those years.
Yeah, they've developed quite a society. Has its own version of common with, selections of languages from both the native Aquanian tongues and some of the Swagan language, as well as some other, other languages. It's a really interesting little combo language. They don't really have a concept of worshiping the gods as like we would on the surface because, the gods can't really reach you when you're in the stomach of a demigod. But like they also don't always worship, like they worship the Leviathan as something, but not completely, not quite the way you would worship an earth or like a planet or nature, but like something equivalent to. Interesting, fascinating stuff.
Yeah, instead of worshipping a deity and asking for the favors, you curse them and say, "Oh, that son of a bitch ate us."
Not quite. More as a you don't swallow us, we don't swallow you sort of thing. But we sort of met some of the townsfolk, which was nice. And then Wiltrin brought us to his house, which was also very nice. And we were preparing to sleep things off. And then we got introduced to this mechanical person. I don't know what you'd call it, but it called itself Reggie. Its technical robot code or technical mechanical code was something else, but Wiltrin named him Reggie. And Reggie took one look at me and said, "Hybrid." And I said, "What?" And in doing so, Wiltrin sort of had to explain that how I had perceived who I was as an entity was wrong, and that the history of the universe was a little bit more complicated than we had initially been explained. Very basically, I was not part celestial entity. I was part alien. There's no sugarcoating that. I was part alien.
Like you, like an immigrant?
No, like a being from a different planet.
Oh.
Yeah. Apparently this other race was from a planet off of the point of a star, and we're sort of adventuring around Mundas, and they at one point had taken something that was basically a dragon that ate stars into its hold, and the container that it was being held in got unstable, and they were in just such a point in the atmosphere that when the ship went up, it kind of scattered the parts of the ship all over the earth, and that is what caused what we have eventually come to know as the Calamity. In doing so, the Aasimar have always been a post-Calamity race. Like, we didn't show up in any written records prior to the Calamity, but it turns out that it's not because we're celestial, it's because the aliens didn't get out of their ship until then.
Ah, okay. And you're sure it's not just because people just forgot to mention you?
No, it's the aliens. In part of Wiltrin's last expedition was trying to find out the history of the Aasimar on behalf of this guy who was leading them. They ended up finding the control center for the ship, and that's how they found Reggie, and that's how they found out all this information. And they had taken one of the control chairs with them, but in the process of getting home, they'd been swallowed by the Leviathan, and that's why Freda had not heard from him in so many years. they're like, we have no way of escaping. We're stuck here. And I said, well, you've got this chair, and I've got this helmet that sure has a lot of matching symbols to the chair. And Wiltrin said, that's a helm. We put the two of those together, and we can find a way to pilot a ship to get us out of here. And we said, well, we do have a crashed ship that got us in here. So the mission became very clear. We had to fix the ship, get the helmet together, have someone attuned to the helmet, and get us the hell out of here, taking whoever wanted to leave with us. It took a few weeks as we tried to sort out some things, including learning that my patron, who I still haven't seen, was going through some things, going through a process, claimed he was growing a conscience against his will, which is, a funny thing to hear from a demon, but he may not strictly be a demon anymore. We're still figuring that out.
I mean, since you're a hybrid now, and I just want to make sure I got this straight, because some aliens had some car problems. The world had a big kaboom. Is that right? Is that pretty much right?
No, it's not. It's less that the world had a big kaboom. It's more that, like, the ship had some car problems, and those car problems caused the car to explode, and the wreckage sort of fell onto the Earth, onto the Mundas. And the said car parts falling apart caused ecological devastation.
Follow-up question. You mentioned a dragon that ate a star. Does the star taste like these star sprinkles you have, like on like an ice cream topping?
I think it might be a bit spicier.
I don't know. I don't think it was recorded, not gonna lie. I don't think Wiltrin looked into it. Wiltrin asks different questions than I do when it comes to studying new important information. Wiltrin asks how things work. I immediately go, what are the implications of how things work?
And I would ask, what does it taste like? I think
A good balance of all three.
Yeah. So we basically spent some amount of time. We don't really know. Time moves differently in a demi-plane than it was on the surface, so we could have been in there for God knows how long. Thankfully, it seemed to have only been a week, maybe, a little less. Hard to tell.
maybe Demigod knows how long.
Maybe, but, like, he doesn't seem to talk. Like, he probably has thoughts and emotions and feelings, but he doesn't seem to talk. We don't even know if he's a he. We just refer to him as a he. So, hard to tell.
Kind of good to figure out.
How long ago was the catastrophe?
A couple 100 years, maybe 100-ish and change.
With how much your family would have gone through, I'm surprised you could tell you're a hybrid.
Well, it's a mechanical person who is designed to respond to any of the aliens. It basically scanned me and said, yeah, you're part of whatever.
Oh, okay. So they're specifically programmed for that. All right.
Yeah, its job was to catalog things, and it cataloged me as a hybrid. So, we managed to pull the ship back together, which was great. Great news for all involved. And we were gonna prepare to have me attuned to the helm so that I could pilot us out of here, because I was the only spellcaster we could spare. And then we got set upon by the other occupants of the Leviathan, because it turns out this whole settlement of people was not the only settlement of people in this here mess. There were also these beings called the Swagan, who were sort of sea people. We don't really know. We didn't get the full explanation. We didn't have time. We were sort of on a crunch. We really all just kind of wanted to get the fuck out of there. Our cleric has an angel girlfriend who she was not about to die before seeing in the guts of Leviathan without seeing again. So, understandable. We all wanted to get the fuck out of there. No one really wants to resign their fate to being inside of a being, all things considered. So the Swagan, along with some Sharktopie, were set upon us. Sharktopie, or they're like sharks with tentacles. Terrible image. According to Corin, they are a cruel experiment of an uncaring god.
I can't say I'm a big enjoyer of that mental image.
No, imagine seeing them. But we duked it out while I was crash course attuning to a helm, which was going okay for a bit, and then I got whacked with damage, and That was less than ideal. Turns out that the other Azamar amongst the group, a guy named Benedict, he wasn't keen on going back to surface with the knowledge that we were not the descendants of Celestials, but instead the descendants of aliens. And I didn't care because I've never cared about who I am outside of, what I can do in the time being. But he couldn't handle it. So he was determined to not let us get out. Thankfully, my party put a stop to him with a hammer. We love a warhammer. Never go anywhere without a warhammer. Or someone who can wield a warhammer, barring your ability to wield one yourself. And with the help of Reggie sacrificing himself to help in the attunement process, I managed to attune to the helm, and we sort of warped reality and got the hell out of there. Good news is that we were out of there. Bad news is we didn't quite make it to where we were aiming. We were aiming for 5 health, which is where our rogue Bonk has some holdings due to a baronship that he was gifted by Eric as a thanks for being his friend. We're trying to talk him out of doing that more, gifting us, royal statuses for being his friend when, we are his friend just because we're his friend. But Bonk has never been the one to look a gift horse in the mouth. So he took the baronship and apparently had been building a teleport point, which on the one hand, great, cool. Using that as a lighthouse got us out of the thing. On the other hand, we haven't been able to weren't really allowed to use teleport because using teleport was tearing holes in reality. And there was a non-slim chance that you were going to tear such a hole that something was going to walk through, which is bad news. Usually you don't want things walking through gaps in realities, even if you're the one who's opening them.
We wouldn't have experience with that, not at all.
Yeah, but we instead sort of pulled it together and managed to land the ship in Elefel, which is a coastal city not too far off. Well, further off than we would have liked for where we needed to be, but not as far off as to be, we're not on the opposite side of the continent from where we need to be. Well, we kind of are, but that's neither here nor there. We can get from A to B. We're out of the Leviathan, and that's what really mattered. So we prepared to figure out what our next steps were, where we needed to go next. And in the process, we discovered that one of the druid's friends was in town and that something from her past had caught up to her, and they were going to go deal with that. And Eric was preparing to go and talk to his secret society, which was a Sacred Order of Newts.
Eric was one of your party members.
Yeah, he's the paladin.
Your party members seem to have a lot to do with adorable animals. Capybaras, newts.
Yeah. That's not even counting Ander, who is Eric's Pomeranian, who talks to Eric, apparently.
All dogs talk to their owners. Just some don't know how to listen.
Yeah. Eric does, and it's apparently terrifying. But also, Eric got the surprise knowledge that he has a new uncle, who's about the same age as him, because his grandmother had another kid, and she was banished to the outer reaches for trying to restart the Drow Empire, and his mom didn't kill her, just banished her to the far reaches of the world, and she's now opening delegation diplomatic talks, which is, not our problem, but a smidge concerning going forward. Big, put a pin in it. Mind it. Be wary of it. But if the city is willing to court her for now, we will see how this goes. So that was a fun revelation for Eric to have. I, meanwhile, had to go get my sickle figured out because I've had this magic blessed sickle stolen from Rosaire's. How to explain the bastard? The easiest way to explain the bastard is Rosaire works for his father, and his father works for somebody else, and the bastard is that somebody else. He's also a god, and he kind of sucks, just like as a point. Like his deific domain is pain, so it's just in general less than ideal. pain and darkness. He's also sometimes called the Lord of Midnight. It's a whole thing. But Rosaire stole a sickle from him because they're a sacred sigil of his, and because he's been growing a conscience, it's been kind of a pain to use it with that said growing conscience. So I took it to clerics of the bastard's sister. The story goes that, okay, I probably can't be deifically smited out of existence here, so we're just going to call him what he is. Hannernos. His name is Hannernos, Lord of Midnight, God of Pain. Used to be more in line with his sister's domain. His sister, Eurosin, is the goddess of art and beauty and love. And some time ago in the ancient there befores, they sort of had a falling out, and she still loves him, but he doesn't really come to family gatherings anymore. So I figured when a Hannernosian sickle starts going hog wild and starts hurting you, you take it to his sister in the hopes that she can, metaphorically slap his wrist, if not literally. So I asked the clerics if they could either save the spell storing gem on the thing, or if they could just cure it so it wouldn't hurt me to use it. That would be great. They agreed, which was also lovely. And I was able to take it back after a few days once they had, blessed it enough. It also probably triggered the dream. So I should probably talk about the god dream. You know how everyone gets god dreams every once in a while.
I mean, I always dream about being a god.
Yeah, no, this is a different style of god dream. I was having a normal night's sleep until I wasn't. I ended up someplace. I don't really know where. It was sort of vague. And I was greeted by Eurosin and Modesiarna. Modesiarna is the goddess of dreams. She's also Eric's goddess of choice. She's sacred to the Drow, as she was their god before Hannernos usurped her. Well, she didn't usurp him. They sort of were forcefully turned to his worship. It's complicated. That's more of an Eric question than a me question. But in doing so, they sort of chatted with me, and Eurosin assured me that she'd done her best, and she had told her brother to knock it off, and that I was possibly on the right track in terms of, doing what I do, existing, working with my patron, the fact that my patron was growing a conscience, and his process of turning into something that may or may not be what he was before, may or may not kill him. And I cannot express to you how much I don't want my patron dead. That'd be bad for all involved. But apparently this death is not something I get any potential say in. It's just either going to happen or it doesn't. And I can't help but think I'm a terrible thing to live for, and I'm an even worse thing to die for, but I don't get a say in the matter.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would agree with you.
Yeah. And this all coming on the back of what I was, actually doing, because while I got the sickle fixed, Alania, our cleric, she asked us if I would pilot the ship to a town further north. And I said, sure, just borrow the ship for a few days. They can take care of themselves for a night. They will manage to not burn the city down without us if we leave one of them in charge. So we did, and we popped off. And Alania revealed that we were seeing her long-lost mother. And I said, all right, I'll support you however you need me to be. And if that is just standing in the corner silently, which is what I ended up doing, then that's what I do. I think she just needed the moral support. And I was the least chaotic of her options, which is, kind of nice. I like being thought of as worthy of being chosen as moral support.
Maybe that could be your new catchphrase. Less chaotic than the others.
Possibly. Though the others would argue I have my moments of chaoticness, it's just usually incorporated by my favorite way to organize things, apparently, which is conspiracy board.
What is conspiracy board?
it's a big bulletin board with a bunch of Post-it notes and some string and notes and notations, finding the threads of things that bring plots back together. Very useful when you're trying to organize your thoughts about grand government conspiracies or the theories therein. But yeah, we were sort of, reorganizing ourselves and pulling ourselves back together when you pulled me into this again. So sort of on the grand precipice of what is maybe the end of what I've been doing for the past year, which is something, I think. It's been a crazy year, crazy life, all things considered, Like, some days you wake up and you know exactly what you're going to do with your day. Some days you wake up and you know exactly what you're going to do with the hour. I don't think I've woken up and known exactly how my day is going to go in the past, several years. I think I've just sort of woken up and said, yeah, something's going to happen today. And maybe, just maybe, I'll make my way out of it alive. And, that's been tricky. Some days you wake up and you're like, oh God, this is it. This is the day I'm going to die. Not going to lie, got a little close there in those Leviathan days. But we survived that. And I think if we survived that, we could pretty much survive anything at this point.
That sounds good. Now that you're not in the demigods, demiplane, have you caught up with the cultists?
We're hoping to. We've just gotten a lead on where they are. They're apparently back in Holy Bay, which, had we not had a Spelljammer ship, would have sucked. It would have been several weeks worth of travel, but we have a ship, so we can just kind of go bop over there. But we've got a couple of other things we got to take care of first. Apparently, Bonk's got a lead on something in Fiveheld that we've got to go sort out, and then we can go bop over to Holy Bay and get it sorted and prevent them from completely decimating the entirety of the continent. Apparently, they've already started, which is bad. It's bad. It's bad for all involved.
Is Holy Bay close to Hollywood?
No. I don't.
Okay.
There's Hollywell, which is a city in the Free Confederation, but it's still a couple of weeks worth of cart travel, assuming you don't get hung up at the border. But Holy Bay's where this whole thing started, so it's sort of a back to the beginning, full circle sort of energy.
Located in the country of Holy Moly.
Not quite.
He tries. I appreciate that he tries, but he tries. Not much more I can say about that.
Fair enough.
So you did successfully attune to the helm.
Yes, I can now pilot the ship.
Was that the Baron ship?
No, this is the Spear of Diana, which is our ship. It was a pirate's ship, but we stole it and then got it reconsecrated by the Queen, so now it's our ship. So we just now have the helm and the chair attached to the ship.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I'm just curious. What did you use as an engine since it no longer has a dragon that eats stars?
It's a sailboat. When it's not being powered by the arcane process of my attunement, it's still just a sailboat.
Okay. Wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, assuming we don't need to, cross the continent in rapid speed, it can still be used as just a regular old sailboat, I assume. I mean, we've parked it like one, so one must assume its qualities still work the other way.
Get the paddles.
Take a lot of paddles. It's not a small ship.
So do you think the worm will be waiting for you?
No, I think she's got better things to do.
Harassing other ships.
Yeah, harassing other things that are in her ocean.
So she attacked you because you were in her ocean, not because anyone did it.
She didn't attack us at all. She was just sort of swimming to get out of the way of the Leviathan and was going to crash into us if we didn't get out of her way. We didn't stop to chat. It was just better to just get the fuck out of her way.
All right, that's fair. She's just shouting, move, move, move.
I don't think she was shouting anything. I don't think she was, in the mood to chat, or at least not that we heard.
Have you had any good highlights during your journey? Anything fun that happened?
Other than being swallowed by a Leviathan.
Highlights. Everything's sort of just been a low stakes hum of anxiety and stress, but there've been some entertainments occasionally. Oh, I suppose I can tame that a little bit. The paladin, Eric, he's got this wizard he occasionally sees if we're in the same town at the same time. Her name's Marianne. She's sweet. She's very sweet. Eric is noble, so he's a bit sheltered. all things considered, and can't pick up a flirtation to save his life. So the first time Marion, decided to push her flirting as far as she could go, the results of said flirtations resulted in my patron showing up at the tavern going, "Who let the nerd, and I didn't want to think about this. Didn't want to think about it, but unfortunately when your patron is an incubus, these are the sorts of questions you get asked." Apparently he had felt it from halfway across the city, which is, a release of energy that you don't expect on a good day, especially when you're trying to get out the door so that you can continue on your adventure. But hey, it's a thing that happened. Also played high stakes Pictionary with some gnolls. They had apparently been pushed out of their hunting ground by some giants that we took care of and were terrorizing local townsfolk, and we managed to convince them that, hey, maybe they shouldn't do that. And also, Eric decided to send them to his hometown, where apparently they've opened a meat shop and are doing quite well for themselves, which, good for them. Good for them. I've gotten to see some truly interesting private collections of knowledge, surprising what some polite words and a please will get you, and your agreement that you don't take notes, but I mentally take notes. It's all I can do.
Who won the Pictionary game?
We did, by convincing them to not fight us and or eat us.
What was the winning move?
The convincing of them to go to Sedastvon to go see Eric's parents. More accurately, his mom. His dad's sort of his dad was in a permanent pact with the Fae as sort of their sworn knight. So he couldn't leave the forest for a while, but Eric might have taken on his pact for a year so that his dad could go talk to his mom for a year. And so they're making up for lost time while Eric is taking his dad's place temporarily. I don't really know the specifics of it, but Eric made a deal with the Fae, as is tradition, I suppose.
Where can I find this Knoll meat shop?
It's in Stasfon. It is called, I think it's called Gorlrick's. Gorlrick's Meets a Hut.
Gorlrick's Meets a Hut.
Yep.
That sounds like a brand name that could conquer the world.
Truly. You just gotta, find enough employees and maybe it'll franchise.
Not gonna lie, I'm a bit fearful of where they get the meat from. Or that's something we shouldn't question.
From the meat farms.
I haven't really asked. Been a bit busy. We haven't really been back to Sedastvon since the whole initial meeting. Been busy. Been bopping around the continent.
Just a tad.
Just a smidgen.
How do you think the rest of your journey will go? It sounds like it's wrapping up.
Yeah. I hope we can defeat these cultists. I hope we can, maybe, if the planes are going to merge, whether we like it or not, maybe we make it less catastrophic than it could be. Hopefully not causing an entire hole in reality to be opened in such a fashion that drowns the world. That'd be really good. We don't want the elemental plane of water drowning the world. That would just be a bad time for all involved. I hope I can see Rosaire. I hope he doesn't do anything stupid while I'm gone. I hope that we find some sort of peace when this is all said and done. Maybe not complete peace, maybe not world peace, maybe not even continent peace, but some level of it. Just for us.
And that's a good goal.
It sounds like you still got a few adventures left.
Probably.
Well then, once your adventures are wrapped up, I hope we can hear back from you.
Possibly.
Don't worry, we'll find you.
I'm sure you will.
But until then, have a good awakening.